Good afternoon to everyone present here with us today. This is Shreyan from IGCP. I would like to welcome all the viewers who have joined our platform for better exchange of knowledge that is going to be shared by our keynote speaker, Doctor, for today's session. With much pleasure and honor, I would like to welcome a very renowned doctor, Professor Omesh Khurana. Sir is ex-professor at CCM Government Medical College, Durg, IAP, NC, ECD National Trainer. With the help of Sir and his wonderful insight, we will be taking a close look on today's topic, which is childhood immunization. Now, without any further delay, I would like to welcome Sir at our forum and would like to hand over the session to him. Over to you, Sir.
Good afternoon, friends. We, on behalf of IJCP, I welcome you all for this session. And in this topic, if you have any questions, you may kindly type those questions in the chat box, and I will try my best to satisfy you with the right answers. Well, we have all been to schools. We have been educated in schools. And now we have our children going to schools. There has been a difference, a big difference, if we compare our childhood and the schooling of today's children. Academic marks, performance has become of great relevance for further admissions, and therefore school attendance is very, very important. If a child who is going to school becomes sick and is not in a position to go to school, the child loses the academic discussions which have been happening during the period of absence. And therefore, this becomes a great concern that the child should remain healthy and the child should not get sick. Therefore, it is important that every child should be fully immunized. Though the topic of childhood immunization is very, very vast, and we can have discussion for a complete one day on this, in the allotted time, therefore, we'll be focusing precisely on the immunization requirements for school children. The scope of this presentation shall be, let us define the school age, try to understand why should we discuss this topic. What is the roadmap of UIP? UIP means Universal Immunization Program of Government of India. What are the data on immunization coverage in school children in India and insight? Are there lessons through this data? What are the reasons why we miss immunization? What are the effects of missing immunization? And what are the vaccines specially targeted for school-age children? We know that our children, they go to sort of a play schools, and therefore we say that school age is from 3 years to 17 years. When we talk of the Government of India's immunization program, National Immunization Program usually targets the first and second years of immunization, And the school children, however, they suffer from measles, mumps, chickenpox, influenza, pertussis. All these happen because if suppose one child is sick, if one child is having chickenpox, it can spread to others. If one child gets measles, other children may also get measles. When the children go to school, they are having their canteens, and there can be exposure to contaminated water and food. They can develop hepatitis A or typhoid. Whenever we give a vaccine shot, this vaccine shot provides immunity, antibodies. But then antibodies are not lifelong. The amount of antibodies decreases with the age, and therefore protection decreases with age. And therefore one has to give more boosters. And then these unimmunized or partially immunized children, they become, in fact, sources of infection to spread their disease to the adults also. That means, suppose hepatitis A takes place in a child, and the child is excreting virus in the stools or in the urine, the adults of the home, they can get infected. Well, we had a COVID story. And what was the impact of COVID? What typically happened in India was that the force, government force, which was used to vaccinate, that is the Anganwadi workers, all those Anganwadi workers were busy giving vaccines to adults because adults are more important, the government says. So vaccination of Covaxin, Covishield, etc., all these vaccines were given to adults. And therefore, these children did not get the vaccine. A, the vaccine for children was not available. And B, the Anganwadi workers were not available for their weight record, for their vaccination, and all those things. And therefore, in 2020, there was a large drop in coverage of vaccination to the children from 91% to 85%. So vaccine coverage dropped during COVID. So let us see what is happening in India. Well, let us see first of all this middle column, zero dose. 2.7 million children in 2021 did not receive any vaccine, zero. And fully immunized. And fully immunized also typically is defined as vaccines received up to, say, age of 12 months. And in NFHS 5, which is a 2021 data, 76% were fully immunized up to 1 year. That means one child out of 4 did not receive the vaccine. And under-immunized were those who did not receive the third dose of DTP. Now, if we see this, this is a sad story for a country like India, which is a member of G20, which is sending rockets to the moon. I feel this is something which is very, very disturbing and distressing. 19, 20, 2020, 2021, 2022. When you see this was complete green zone in 2019, and then this dark green, and then there were these two states, the red states. In 2020, what happens? This red area increases, the green area decreases, meaning thereby in this period, April 2020, from this year onwards, we had COVID epidemic, and therefore the vaccine coverage decreases. In 2021, the same impact continues, and this bright yellow becomes dark yellow. So what happens is that vaccine coverage is decreasing. And finally, after the COVID period is over, now the story is that we are trying to pick up the vaccine, but we still have a red state named as Rajasthan. So what is happening? Why are we missing the vaccines? Why? Is that many are not aware of the need for immunization, that this vaccine has to be given. They are not contacted. They do not know where and when to go for immunization. If someone goes for vaccination, there is a concern that on that particular day, there is no vaccination holiday. So there will be loss of work. And sometimes the caregiver, since the vaccinator says that you have to give 3 or 4 shots on one day, the caregiver did not opt for multiple injections, and therefore there is a awareness and information gap. Children, customary it is say कि भाई बच्चे को जब लेकर जाते हैं तो बच्चों का डॉक्टर ऐसा एक रेपुटेशन बना दिया कि बच्चे का डॉक्टर इंजेक्शन लगाएगा पर वो तो वैक्सीन है, वो तो वैक्सीन है, पर एक रेपुटेशन ऐसी है कि बच्चों के डॉक्टर के पास क्यों जाना, क्योंकि वो तो इंजेक्शन लगाएगा। और फिर साथ ही साथ में कभी कभी एक ऐसा मिसकॉन्सेप्ट फैल जाता है, देयर इज अ मिसकॉन्सेप्ट दैट वैक्सीन लीड्स टू रिएक्शंस which is called as AEFI, adverse event following vaccination. So there is a AEFI apprehension. The child is already sick, and therefore a sick child, why should a sick child gets vaccine? Because the child may get some reaction. And then there may be operational gap. The vaccinator may be on holiday. The vaccine is not available. Okay, there is a big waiting time. So why vaccinate? Children aged 12 to 23 months, that is less than 2 years. So what is the story? This is 2022. Oh, okay. So you see that, say, 34% are having awareness and information gap. 27% are having this apprehension that some reaction will take place, and 9% apprehension gap. So if you merge all these things, it is almost 2/3 are having some vague concern, and therefore they are not getting vaccinated. So you have not had your vaccine. What will happen now? The risk due to missed immunization or under immunization, first of all, is an attitude. Life starts from attitude. केवल बड़ों को वैक्सीन लगाना है, only adults should have vaccine. This was a big mistake of COVID. There were big posters, newspaper ads, media, everyone was talking about vaccination of adults, and dear children, no one was talking about vaccination for the children. So this is something which was catastrophic strategy. Pertussis. Pertussis को काली खांसी बोलते हैं. Okay, this is caused by Bordetella pertussis, a bacterial infection. So what happens? We have got only 85% coverage as per government records. Diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, the vaccine is available. The vaccine is available throughout India. The vaccine is free of cost. A free of cost vaccine is available, but there is only 85% coverage. So what is happening? In 2021, you are getting large number of cases of this pertussis. The number is increasing. And the actual incidence could be higher. This is just an estimate. So there are two eras of this pertussis vaccination era. A pre-vaccination era when vaccine was not there. When vaccine was not there, what happened was that adults were getting vaccine, and from the mother, some antibodies were getting transferred to the infants, and the children were playing. After the use of pertussis vaccine, what has happened? What has happened is now children, they get pertussis, and because of they cough and cough, this cough is leading to spread of infection to the adults and from adults back to children. So we are having a bigger problem now. Even the adults are getting pertussis, children are getting pertussis, and we are landing into trouble because we are not vaccinating. One of the major reasons for resurgence of pertussis is the waning immunity from the vaccination. Once you have given DPT, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks through penta vaccine, one has to remember that you have to give booster also at 15 to 18 months. Then second booster also at the age of 5 years. We forget the boosters. And so that vaccine, the antibody titer decreases. High circulation of pertussis among the vaccination population of older siblings again puts infants at a higher risk. So we are landing into deep trouble. Diphtheria. Many countries of the world has eradicated diphtheria. Diphtheria उनके देश में है नहीं पिछले 50 साल से. And I'm telling truth. Almost since 50 years, there is no diphtheria in certain countries of the world. And we still have diphtheria. We had an outbreak in Haryana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu in 2021. This is the data. This is the data of the actual cases, total cases, of which in under 5, 41%. Okay. In Haryana, 5 to 10 years, 53% cases. In Kerala, over 10 years, 74% cases, and diphtheria also has a carrier state. अब इसमें कितने carrier हैं? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, so we are not in a position to eradicate and get rid of vaccine preventable disease. This is a big question. There is a diphtheria resurgence. There is a pertussis resurgence, predominantly because we are not giving the booster doses. And secondly, after the booster, you have to give the second booster also. So there is a decline in antibodies. With time, the antibody level decreases. This has to be known. There is a waning immunity with time. This has to be remembered. Measles. It is said by WHO that how to know that if a country is developed, where one of the indirect parameter is that if a country has got a very good measles vaccination, if the country has eradicated measles, then it's a developed country. But see India, this is red measles. MC1 coverage means measles containing virus 1. That means which is given at the age of 9 months. Then this is NFHS 4, 2015, 61, the coverage is 81%. In NFHS 5, 2019, the coverage is 88%. Okay, in UP it is around say 80%. But then, why not 100% is a question. Why 88% and why 80%? Why not 100% coverage for a vaccine which is freely available? So this is what is number of cases. I mean to say the coverage is now increasing after that period of COVID. There is a global measles outbreaks, and India is the topper. India tops the list with maximum number of cases of measles. And this measles causes death. It leads to encephalitis. It leads to myocarditis. It leads to pneumonia. It flares up tuberculosis. Human papilloma virus, HPV virus. Now, this vaccine is available. HPV vaccine is available. And this vaccine prevents against cervical cancer. All girls after the age of 9 years should get this HPV vaccine. But since this is a very, very limited time presentation, we'll be talking about HPV vaccine in detail sometime later. Let's talk about other vaccines. 270 live births in a year. This is India. Immunization under National Immunization Program is 150 lakhs. And immunization that is under private practice, 15 lakhs, 10%. 10% is by, say, private practitioners. Okay. If you add this, it is 160 lakhs. The remaining 110 lakhs is missing. Around 15% not immunized with the basic vaccines. Indian Academy of Pediatrics, to whom is a organization, professional organization, which has prepared these slides. IAP is an important stakeholder. Immunization is a shared responsibility involving communities, service providers, and policymakers alike. This is an organization with around 45,000 pediatricians all over India, and we are doing a missionary job of spreading awareness for vaccination. The need of the hour is booster vaccination for school children. So we'll be talking about boosters at school entry. That means booster at the age of 5 years. We'll be talking a bit about benefits of school booster, what shots to be given at 5 years of age. What about the National Immunization Program, which is a program of Government of India, and ACVIP program, which is from IAP? What is the role of DTAP? What about inactivated polio vaccine at 5 years of age? What about giving annual influenza vaccine and other vaccines like pneumococcal vaccine? TCV is typhoid conjugated vaccine. MMR is measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. Varicella is vaccine for chickenpox. Hepatitis A vaccine. HPV vaccine. So all these vaccines have to be given at the age of 5 years school entry. Let's discuss. If a child is heading to school this year, make sure they receive all the necessary vaccinations beforehand. So, what are the benefits of vaccinating kids before they head to school? Kids can be vaccinated against most of the serious illnesses. But the big advantage is that the spread of illness to others at the school, at home, and in the community can be prevented in addition to the personal benefit to the child. Most vaccination require about 2 weeks to become fully effective. So therefore, when a child has to go to school, one has to ensure that before 15 days or 1 month, the child is vaccinated. This is what is the story of various UIP, Universal Immunization Program vaccines. After 15, 16, say if you see the last 6 to 7 years, government has worked to introduce inactivated polio vaccine, that is the injectable polio vaccine, because Now the Southeast Asia region, India and Southeast Asia region was certified as polio-free in 2014. So oral polio vaccine is now changed to inactivated polio vaccine, IPV, and we'll be talking more on this subsequently. Rotavirus vaccine for prevention of diarrhea, measles rubella vaccine, pneumococcal vaccine, Japanese encephalitis vaccine, tetanus and adult diphtheria vaccine, and COVID-19 vaccination. So all these pneumococcal conjugate vaccines since 2021. So several vaccines have been added to the kitty by the government of India for the children of India. So this therefore is NIP, National Immunization Program. So this is the sort of a schedule, right? Is at birth, polio, hepatitis B, and BCG. At 6 weeks, pentavaccine, 6, 10, 14, pentavaccine. Then rotavirus vaccine. And then fractional injectable, inactivated polio vaccine at 6 weeks, 14 weeks, and at 9 months. This is a pentavalent, this is a pneumococcal vaccine, 10-valent. 10-valent vaccine, pneumococcal, is given at 6 weeks, 14 weeks, and again at 9 months. At 9 months, measles rubella vaccine. Then at 15 months, to first booster of DPT, second measles rubella vaccine, and Japanese encephalitis vaccine if someone is staying in endemic district. Booster 2 at school entry, that is 5 years, and at 10 years, tetanus diphtheria vaccine. So this is what is the schedule which is followed by government of India all over India. But then IAP says that do something more. At 6 months, IAP says you give an influenza vaccine and you also give a TCV, that is typhoid conjugate vaccine, because 6 months अब गुजर गए हैं 6 months तक ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग था अब ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग का प्रोटेक्शन देयर इज नो प्रोटेक्शन because breastfeeding now will be continued definitely, but top feeding will be started, water will be given, and therefore there's a risk of typhoid. So typhoid vaccine has to be given at 6 months. Influenza vaccine 2 doses, 6 months and 7 months. 9 months में instead of measles rubella, measles mumps rubella vaccine at 9 months. 12 months में hepatitis A virus vaccine, HAV, live or killed. And then 15 months to 18 months में we have to give the second dose of hepatitis A virus vaccine. Between 4 to 6 years, we give the third dose of measles, mumps, rubella. And by the time the child is 10 years old, especially the girls, we give human papilloma virus vaccine for prevention of cervical cancer. So you see, many of the vaccines which are available in the market are currently not given by government. But then the story is different now. The fertility rate in India has decreased. Now parents, they say that we will have perhaps 1 child or maximum 2 child. So now that is not the age where you will have 3 children, 4 children, 5 children. You have got only 1 child to take care. Why not give all the vaccines which are available? So this is a request to all the parents, give all vaccines which are available, whatever may be the cost. In the absence of natural boosting, immunity will wane over time. So we give 3 doses of DPT, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks, and we say that we are happy. Well, you will not be happy because this antibody will wane over time, and pertussis, your child can develop pertussis or diphtheria. Also, there is a need of IPV, that is inactivated polio vaccine. Now, it is important to understand that whenever we are giving a oral polio vaccine, that is a live vaccine. And this live vaccine can cause VAP, that is vaccine associated paralytic poliomyelitis. Or it can lead to C, that is circulating vaccine derived poliovirus infection, and the presentation is just like paralytic polio. So therefore, one has to give IPV, that is inactivated polio vaccine, a killed vaccine. We should not give the live vaccine. So this is what we were talking about, that we have to give the toddler booster, that is 15 to 18 months, school entry booster 5 years, and adolescent vaccine, that is 10 years. So 5 साल में वैक्सीन देना जरूरी है, 10 साल में वैक्सीन देना जरूरी है. Measles. What is the WHO position? WHO position is that it is very, very important to decrease the deaths due to measles by giving not only measles rubella vaccine, but also to add the mumps vaccine. So MMR vaccine should be given. Indian Academy of Pediatrics ACVIP committee recommends influenza vaccine, that is tetravalent inactivated influenza vaccine at 6 months and another dose at 7 months, preferably between April to sort of a June. Influenza vaccine. Typhoid vaccine at the age of 6 months. Hepatitis A vaccine, because against hepatitis A virus, preferably at the age of 12, 12 months, or if it's an inactivated vaccine, then a two dose schedule of 1 year and then subsequently at 18 months. Varicella vaccine, preferably at 15 months, second dose at 18 months. Rabies is very, 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 very important. One has to give. What we are not giving is pre-exposure rabies vaccine has to be given. Pre-exposure rabies vaccination has to be given. Post exposure, we all know, कुत्ता काटने के बाद तो सब देंगे, 0, 3, 7, 14 and 28. But before the dog bites, one has to give the rabies vaccine. So one has to give so many vaccines: Hep A, varicella, flu, typhoid, DPT, polio, MMR. All these vaccines has to be given. Especially these vaccines are very, very important. That is, you can say booster of DPT, D, P, and T, MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella, and ह्यूमन पैपिलोमा वायरस. तो 3 बीमारी यहाँ पर, 3 बीमारी यहाँ पर और 1 बीमारी यहाँ पर, 7 बीमारियां कवर कीजिए by giving vaccine at the age of 5 years. This is what is important. School entry, DPT, polio, MMR, flu vaccine, typhoid vaccine, varicella vaccine, hepatitis A virus vaccine, and if we are staying in some endemic zone, Japanese encephalitis vaccine. And at the age of 10 years, human papillomavirus vaccine, and once again, another booster of this DPT. School entry, therefore, is an opportunity to check the immunization record and go for necessary age-specific vaccinations for better health of child, family, and community. People, it is the need of the hour. Now, I will just run through some slides to give some message. You see, pertussis vaccine. You see, this is the immunity which is going down. immunity which is going down. And therefore, there is a need for booster. So therefore, there are many countries, whether it is Sweden, whether it is Germany, all these countries, the other countries, they are all giving the pertussis booster vaccine because there is a waning, decreasing in antibodies. Now, this is polio. Let us understand what is the status of polio. This is the global map, and there are some red pockets here. This is red here and red here. This is Africa, Nigeria, and this red spot is these two countries, our neighbors. This is Pakistan, and this is Afghanistan. You see, Pakistan, 135 cases of wild polio virus was detected and 12 circulating VDPV. So Pakistan has a large number of wild polio virus cases. And since it is our neighbor, this is India and this is Pakistan, therefore, unless and until this red spot is washed off, we will have to protect our children from polio by giving inactivated polio vaccine, injectable polio vaccine, which has all three serotypes, serotype type 1, type 2, and type 3. You see, these countries throughout the world, Canada, Austria, Belgium, so many countries, all are giving IPV, inactivated polio vaccine. No one is giving oral polio vaccine now. Everyone is giving IPV. So we should also give IPV since it is available. So this is what it is. IPV, inactivated polio vaccine. Okay, Switzerland, Canada, Croatia, so many countries, they are giving inactivated injectable polio vaccine. So we have to, at particular time, we have to say goodbye to oral polio vaccine. In 2019, therefore, Indian Academy of Pediatrics made this recommendation, right? And if you see 4 to 6 years, there is a blank here. This is a 2019 recommendation. And now I'll just run through the slides. This is now the latest 2023 recommendation where polio and DPT, all these things has to begin at 4 to 6. This is a recommendation of Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So there is a fifth dose for school entry of polio at 4 to 6 years of age for optimum protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I in fact wanted to have sort of a interactions,
Yes,
and
sir.
though there are many, as I told you, immunization is a vast subject. There are many more slides, but then it is better to understand कि जो भी हमने अभी discussion, whatever discussion has taken place or whatever presentation has taken place, do we have clarity or do we have questions?
So we do have questions from our audience, if you'd like to take that up.
Sure.
So, sir, the first question is, what innovations and developments can doctor expect to see in the field of childhood immunization in the coming years?
Innovations. Okay. So many innovations are going to take place. Something are happening and some will definitely take place. The needle size is decreasing. That means the bore of the needle is decreasing so that there is a less pain at the time of injection. Nasal vaccines are coming now. There are some vaccines, especially COVID vaccine and especially influenza vaccine, where the route of administration will be the sort of a nasal administration rather than injections. And gradually, what will happen is that as India is having a very good sort of a vaccine labs here, the viral labs. I would like to mention here that there is a news today, and one should remember this, that Germany has a company called as Pfizer, and this Pfizer had developed COVID vaccine. Pfizer had applied during COVID season to Government of India to get a license for supply of COVID vaccine to India, and the license was rightly reduced by Ministry of Health. Around 45,000 patients who had received Pfizer vaccine abroad had developed side effects. There was a court case, and therefore Pfizer has to withdraw those vaccines. What I'm trying to say is that in India, we have got a better technology, vaccines with minimal side effects, and this story will continue. That means you'll be getting more and more vaccines with minimal side effects and lesser cost. This is the future of vaccinology. And you'll be having newer vaccines. Tomorrow there'll be vaccine against dengue. Tomorrow there'll be vaccine against malaria. New diseases will have vaccines.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question from our audience is, in the context of emerging diseases, what are the challenges and opportunities for childhood vaccination?
Okay, opportunities are great. First of all, opportunities are great. If suppose there is such a big gap, that means so many children have not received vaccinations. So it's an ocean of opportunity. Talk to school children, talk to parents, talk in media, talk about vaccines, increase the awareness so that when the awareness is increased, more and more children will get vaccinated. So it's a big opportunity. The challenge rightly mentioned is there are many challenges. Challenges means if suppose there are so many vaccines which are available, government is not going to supply them. Government has got its own budget, its own priorities, and government is not going to supply all these vaccines. So the challenge is that the vaccine is available in the market, government is not supplying it, but then spread the news and get everyone vaccinated. If suppose someone takes up a mission of spreading awareness only for human papilloma virus vaccine, there are millions and millions and millions of girls who need HPV vaccine for prevention of cancer. So actually we presume that all are getting vaccinated. It's a wrong presumption. Even if you do a survey of your family, honestly, आपके परिवार में ही ऐसे मिलेंगे जिनको पूरा वैक्सीनेशन नहीं लगा है. To find out the gap and fill that gap.
Thank you, sir. The last question from our audience is, how do you navigate conversation with the parents who express concern about the number of vaccines recommended for their child?
Okay, very nice question is communication. First of all is that since I have to talk, I ensure that I will talk for 10 to 15 minutes. I will not brush up कि उससे 2 मिनट 1 मिनट बात कर लेंगे, ऐसा नहीं है. उसको समय देंगे और उसको फिर ऑप्शन देंगे, तुम्हारे जो जो क्वेश्चंस हैं पूछते चले जाओ. The basic thing is that when we talk, we don't give time. When we talk, we don't answer the questions. And in that communication, we try to prove. I always, when I communicate, I try to prove that what is the worth of your child? How many lakhs or how many crore rupees is the worth of your child? Invariably, he says कि ये तो इसकी कोई कीमत नहीं है बच्चे की, लाखों करोड़ों का मेरा ये बच्चा है. तो फिर यदि लाखों करोड़ों का ये बच्चा है, तो फिर ये कुछ कुछ हजार ही आएंगे इसमें खर्चा. इसमें वैक्सीन जो है, वैक्सीन को लगा लिया जाए और जैसे ईएमआई होता है, इसके टुकड़े कर देंगे ना. आपका क्वेश्चन ये है कि मेनी मल्टीपल वैक्सीन इन sort of in one go. No, not necessary. Depending upon the individual budget, 2 pricks आज हम लगाएंगे, बाकी 2 हम अगले महीने लगाएंगे, फिर हम अगले महीने लगाएंगे. बच्चे का एक वैक्सीन का ईएमआई बना दीजिए ना. क्यों नहीं बन सकता? किसने कहा कि सब वैक्सीन आज लगाने हैं? पर सब वैक्सीन कुछ समय में तो लगाने हैं, कुछ समय में तो लगाने हैं. एंड देन यू विल also have rewards कि these are the children who have received 100% vaccination. उनको उनकी फोटो छापिए, उनको प्राइज दीजिए, उनको अप्रिशिएट कीजिए, उनको एडमायर कीजिए, उनके लिए ताली बजाइए.
Thank you, sir, for answering all our questions. Before concluding today's session, any last comments from you?
My last comment is that remember three letters ASK, ask. Just as you have IJCP, A is attitude. So your attitude should be preventive attitude. That means prevention is better than cure should be your attitude. That means you should be a believer that vaccines are good. That's an attitude. Then S is skills. Whenever you are talking to any patient regarding vaccines, you have to communicate very, very well. You have to communicate on the value of vaccine. You have to communicate that one should not have any anxiety कि इससे reaction होगा. And gradually one should communicate so that vaccine hesitancy decreases. There is a vaccine hesitancy, हम टीका क्यों लगवाएं? That is S. And skills also, how to give vaccine. When a patient comes to me, I vaccinate myself. मैं खुद लगाऊंगा टीका. So that is a skill. And then K is, ASK is knowledge. I should be updated with the knowledge. So if you have time, I can stop share here, and I have got a latest knowledge regarding one vaccine in a different presentation of 4 slides, which I can share, which is the latest knowledge regarding some vaccine. So one has to always update, because as you have seen, the schedule in 2019 was different. The schedule in 2023 is different. And the schedule in 2023 January was different. And today in November, it is different. One has to update and have a new knowledge always so that that knowledge is used. ASK, follow ASK and you will succeed.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. With your permission, I would like to conclude today's session. Thank you.
But I have one question now.
Sure, sir.
I have always been asking one question to IJCP is that I want by evening one email response that in this webinar, what was the attendance, how many had participated as audience. We should get a feedback of the webinar audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
sir.
thank you for moderating. And thank you for moderating. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We will surely give you that feedback by the evening, sir. Thank you.